Israel's credit rating lowered, Moody's warns of significant risk.
Here's a summary of the article.
Israel's sovereign credit rating on Tuesday was lowered by credit rating agency Morgan Stanley, and Moody's warned of a significant risk that political and social tensions will lead to negative consequences for Israel's economy and security situation, following the Knesset's vote to pass the first law of its controversial judicial reform on Monday. Morgan Stanley updated Israel's sovereign credit to a dislike stance, noting that the government has reaffirmed the trajectory of its economy in a direction that is likely to scare off investors. Markets are now likely to extrapolate the future policy path, and we move Israel's sovereign credit to dislike stance. Given the outlook of Morgan Stanley and prior statements from Moody's, the latter can likely be expected to demote Israel's rating as well. In April, the agency affirmed Israel's sovereign credit rating at A1, but downgraded the outlook on the Israeli government's credit ratings to stable from its prior status as positive. Moody's cited a weakening of institutional strength and policy predictability, and a deterioration of Israel's governance as its primary concerns for Israel's economy. For months, hundreds of economists, experts, and executives throughout Israel and around the world have warned against the current government's plan for judicial reform, claiming that it will lead to a sharp decline in foreign investment due to a lack of economic stability brought about by the weakened legal system. Whatever your political views about it, what's happening now in the country reflects big time on the business community. Now, doing business with Israel is a little bit more complicated, more risky, and that's largely affected Israel's overseas income, Amman Group CEO Ben Pasternak told the Jerusalem Post.
This post received a score of 3,000, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
This is an example of how business values an independent judiciary.
Your move, BB.
Pass a law to ignore Moody's rating.
I am not sure that a law matters so much for people outside of Israel. Moody's makes a bigger difference to investors around the world. I am sure lots of countries don't care for the rating they have, but Wall Street and investment things do.
Moody's downgraded Israel's credit rating. That matters to Israelis? No.
It matters to Israelis because Israeli government bonds are now classified as riskier, which means institutions that have rules about their investments will be buying less. Along with the general market buying less because of what a downgrade implies. It could potentially impact internal Israeli investment firms and banks too, which could be forced by Israeli regulations to ignore ratings, purchase bonds. Less international investment means Israel government would need to sell their bonds at a higher yield to make it worth the higher risk.
Sounds about right.
BB, Ben Gvir, Smotrich have done a better job at scaring away investors than BDS has in the last, almost 20 years.
Bibi is supporting Palestine by destroying the Israeli economy.
Palestinian economy is wholly tied to Israel's though, so this isn't good for anybody.
Palestine doesn't have that big of an economy. This hurts Israel more than Palestine.
Clearly. I'm just saying that Palestine has no economy but Israel, so it's a whole ship going down here.
The government was warned about this possibility before passing the law.
So I guess we're in the finding out stage here?
Seems so.
Shocker. Fascism isn't good for business. It is if you were in bed with the fascists. Until they decide to nationalize your shit and then you get fed to the wolves.
Fascism is good for unscrupulous capitalists when they are busting up worker protesters and challengers, but history shows then they eat the capital owners to replace with lackeys.
Leopards ate my face.
Right-wing parties are bad for business. Right-wingers crash the economy when they're in charge. If you care about your money, keep right-wingers away from power. Right-wingers are only there to steal, plunder, rape and pillage.
Religious fundamentalists would be more accurate, although yes, they are far right.
Religious fundamentalists are only one type of right-winger. All right-wingers are bad for business. Netanyahu isn't a religious fundamentalist, by the way. His allies are, but he isn't. There are other secular right-wing parties in Israel and around the world as well, and they're all still bad.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.